Bobby Hicks. My apologies, this one may be a tad long. There's a point I want to make because of the scoffers who are making fun of our posts, specifically Answers in Genesis. And I'm just hoping to read some of the responses to learn. One of the things I've discovered in this life, after being an atheist myself for 24 years, is that it's really impossible to continue to be an atheist if we just open our eyes. Pardon. For example, in my career, before I retired, I was in an organization that was full of some of the most sharpest, brightest, quickest intellects on planet Earth. And if one made a mistake, the reaction was immediate and very often brutal. I once remember the group making me feel completely and utterly ignorant and stupid, in which I was. I wish I had only learned so many things so much earlier in life. I would have been so much better at everything. But then it turns out I discovered later on in life that because once I had the time after I retired to look into the nature of the universe and the nature of what atheists, non-Christians, and mainstream science, the secularists, I wanted to look into what they were saying because I wanted to see, okay, this is what you're saying. And remember, I came from a culture that would be, if you were even perceived as being stupid, if you weren't quick-witted and sharp, you could actually be blackballed. So I would look at the evidence, and I knew immediately that as a way of life and this is when they came out with the idea that life evolved in ancient shallow seas on the backs of crystals. So I said, okay, if that's the truth, let's see how that works. And it just happens that I did that. I didn't do it because I'm any smarter than anybody else. In fact, one of the reasons I did it is so that I wouldn't appear any more stupid than what I thought I was. Well, I realized quickly that there wasn't enough elements in ancient shallow seas, no matter where you look in the universe, to produce even the most simplest DNA strand. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter than what I should, because you can't explain that in just a few words. Turns out that made me look in other places, like, for example, if Einstein's theory is correct, what is a photon? What is gravity? What is the relationship between gravity and matter and a photon and distance? How is a cell, a human cell, a brain cell, any brain function, how is all the physical parts made and what are they made from? I discovered that when we look into the nature of the universe, quantum physics, matter, material physics, space, time, physics, gravity, physics, the vast distances, physics, the things that I researched and found out on my own that secularists will never tell you. Like, for example, there is a great big chance that light itself in the universe is actually slowing down, which could mean that decay rates and whatnot could be slowing down. But I also, one of the things that really pushed me over the edge is when I discovered that radiocarbon dating is just a guess. It's a myth. It doesn't prove anything. It has assumptions. But you can't tell the scoffers that. So what I'm saying today is, for all of you scoffers who laugh at me and other creation scientists who have very often been atheists themselves, we have looked deeper into the abyss of the nature of this universe, and I fell down when I discovered what I had thought was more than likely not true at all, and that the better explanation, when we look at the entirety of everything that we can see, is intelligent design. And then catastrophism. You look at the condition of the earth, you look at the Bible, a truly correct translated Bible, for example, the Tree of Life Bible, and it's another myth and secularist lie that there are contradictions in the Bible. There are none. The contradictions they speak of and they think of are only, they may be slight contradictions in the translation. Because when you go and look at the original Hebrew, the original Greek, the original Aramaic, there is not one single falsehood or contradiction in the Bible. And they can't bring themselves to really do that research, because then they'll start going down the rabbit hole of truth. And men and women, especially Western men and women, they don't want anything to do with the truth, because then they would not be able to continue their horrific sin and behavior, not the least of which is murdering unborn children. And the Bible makes it clear that a child in the womb is a child. Therefore, when you destroy it, it's the ultimate act of criminal action. In my mind, I know it is. I have no idea how God will judge, but what I'm asking is for any of you scoffers to look deeper into the evidence and stop becoming what the Bible says is a fool. Because God himself says, it is the fool in his heart who says that there is no God. Intelligent design is real, and it's funny to you now. But someday I will never think upon a scoffer again. I will be serving our Creator God and his intelligent design in his paradise that he created for those of us who trust in him. While the scoffers will have eternity in suffering, in the outer darkness, hell, to think about the people and the men like me who desperately tried to warn them. My name is Bobby Hicks. Find a creationist, debate them, prove them wrong if you can, because I promise you, once you look into the inner workings and details of this universe, not the least of which a DNA strand, you cannot prove us wrong in any. There's not even any evidence, let alone proof. My name is Bobby Hicks. I pray for you, scoffers. God bless you.